Good morning, Holy Covenant. This is Pastor Kelly. I hope this message finds you well and enjoying this beautiful spring/summer day, or maybe whenever you're watching this video. I hope that you're well. I wanted to just offer my thoughts and experience regarding the UMNext meeting that I attended last week in Kansas City. There were 11 people from our annual conference who went, and it was a gathering of 600 people, 10 people from each of the U.S. Annual conferences. And so I would say, if you were to ask, what happened and what did you think of the event, I think if you asked every individual, you would get a different response. So this is just my opinion and perspective. I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone. Simply wanted to share information with you and give you some of my perspectives and takeaways from that conversation. So the gathering again happened in Kansas City. Church of the Resurrection hosted it. And I'm just going to read to you, there were 4 desired outcomes for the event, kind of goals of the meeting. And so I'll share those with you. One was to bring together a diverse set of leaders to strategize. The second objective or desired outcome was to respond with urgency, examining intended and unintended consequences of the actions that might be taken. And then number 3, share ideas for resistance and energize what's next. And then 4th was to develop next steps. And all of this, the purpose of all this is in response to the special session of General Conference that took place in February, where the traditional plan passed. And so the people who gathered were people who are committed to resisting the implementation of the traditional plan, and then kind of exploring sort of what's next. And so there were 3 kind of main ideas about what it might look like in the future. So we're united in our sense of wanting to resist the traditional plan. How that plays out in terms of our future of our denomination is sort of what we're exploring at this point. So there was one idea to stay in the United Methodist Church under the traditional plan, and staying would mean resisting that plan and working to reform it. This has been the strategy for the denomination for a long time. I think what's different this time around is the center. Churches who, maybe they don't know what they think about the issue of same-sex marriage and ordaining LGBTQIA clergy, but they don't know how they feel about that, but they're definitely not for the traditional plan either. So there's a good chunk of people for whom they don't maybe know necessarily what to think, but they know sort of what's happening is wrong. And so this idea is that we could stay, and the center could be sort of the ones to take on actions and active resistance in a significant and large-scale way. The downside of that is that that's not really a sustainable future, but I do think in the short term it's certainly needed. The second option that was considered and just kind of broadly discussed was the idea of some kind of separation in the United Methodist Church. So we might share some things in common, but we would stay connected, perhaps loosely, in our shared Wesleyan heritage, but then differentiated by our theological approaches. That would also include the second option would also include any exits would be under the provisions of the traditional plan. So that's kind of looking at exiting under the terms that were set forth by the special session of General Conference and ruled constitutional by the Judicial Council. So that was the second thing. And then the third option was to just completely break off and form something new, and let churches and conferences and clergy sort of sort out what might be next. What is the next expression of the Methodist or Wesleyan movement? So those are the very three broad areas that were discussed. And I'll say that I went in thinking that perhaps a decision was going to get made. Like we were all going to say like, oh, we're going to work on this. We're going to stay and resist, or we're going to form something new. And what I realized in the conversation is that there's some for whom we will need to exit. And so we should support and encourage that and stay in connection with them. And also there's a group of center churches primarily who may not know what to do. They may not be able to get their annual conferences as a whole, or even their local churches maybe, to leave and to do something new, but they're really committed to staying and reforming and resisting. And so I came away with the idea of sort of this two-prong strategy. One is that there's going to be a large group of folks who are going to stay and resist and reform, and our work will continue and support that. And also there will be groups for which who are either ready to leave or want to leave, and so we can support them too. I think the idea though is that we try to remain united in the sense of working together, like trying to figure out something for the future, both what it looks like to resist and what it looks like to move something forward. So that's kind of what happened at UMCNext. I think it's always a challenge to consider moving a denomination of 5 million people here in the United States. And so you always have to start somewhere. So that's what started in Kansas City. But there's multiple conversations happening across the denomination, including United Methodist Forward, UM Forward, or it's the Our Movement Forward, OMF. That was a group gathering in Minneapolis that happened the week before Kansas City. And they too were looking at a new expression of Methodism. And then also, I know that there's some clergy, groups around the area. I know church planters, I think, are meeting in a couple of months. So there's many conversations that are happening about what's going to happen next. This is just one of them. So just wanted to provide you with sorry if it's a little long than I anticipated, but at least my experience and my perspective there, I was really grateful to go and to be part of that conversation. And I'm even more excited to expand these conversations and continue to engage people in this important work that we have ahead. So thanks for watching this video. If you have questions or comments, of course, feel free to be in touch with me. And I look forward to being with all of you on Sunday. Take care and God bless. Bye-bye.